to know, in signing on to this project, what intrigued you the most about it?
I was a big fan of Stephen Knight's imagination before this, and when I got the script, I shouted out loud a few times. I did a lot of WTF, and I did a lot of holy smoke. But yeah, and that was just me sitting alone reading it for the first time. You've got to come along when somebody has that kind of ability to, because for me, if it's not in the script, I'm not coming. I think the writer is queen and king. So I came on because of that script. But of course, there was wanting to be present to see how this world is built.
Yeah, for me, I also love Stephen Knight's work. I love Peaky Blinders, and Francis Lawrence as well. He's such an incredible director and an amazing world builder. And so the people really drew me in, and that was just off of like my little audition email. I was like, ooh, those are really amazing people. And then I read the script, and I had the same experience of, what does that even look like? How do they navigate through the world? How do they fight? How do they get their food? How do they survive in this world without this sense that to me is so central to my experience of life?
I think this was something that I had never seen or read before, and it just, to get something like that in your hands and go like, wow, this could be something like totally different, and there's so many opportunities here to be like really creative. And with the people that were involved, like Stephen Knight writing and Francis Lawrence and all the producers and Apple and everything, like, yeah, for me that was really exciting.
I feel lucky to be picked.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a bit written
Yeah.
where pigeonholed where I could play certain things that I had to offer, but yet they didn't know that I could pull off maybe certain other things. But I definitely, when I read it, there's normally a lot of other better actors in line to get those roles, and this is one of those things that would take on as much as I could to try to get the role. It was something I was very passionate about.
You say that you're very humble, but you do such a great job at it.
But I really, it's hard because there's a lot of people ahead of you, and you normally get left over.
Yeah, you do always.
It's an honor to be on it. So.
And you always wonder why you were then chosen of all those people. But yeah.
I mean, everything. I've said this a trillion times, but I'm just a huge fan of Francis's, and I think it's a really, really cool, unique project, and the story was just so interesting in so many ways, and I loved that even though it feels like it could be fantasy, it's so grounded in real life, and on top of that, it's a story about family, and it's just beautiful all the way through.
I completely agree. Like, that was one of the most striking things for me, this new world that I'd never experienced before, that some people would happily throw in the category of fantasy is all based in human emotion and human experience. And that on top of the filmmakers, on top of Apple, like, it was something I'd never ever read before. Like, straight off the page, it was so real. It was amazing.
What was the process like working with a blindness consultant? And did you all do any type of research and preparation outside of that and taking on these roles?
It's hard to talk about it quickly, but Joe Strecce was our blindness consultant. He's also one of our executive producers, and he is our friend as well. You approach it the same way you approach any new language, with respect and starting at the very, very beginning. Mm-hmm. We were so at the beginning, you wouldn't even call us infants. For me, it was just the awareness that there was an actual language in terms of the way that you speak any other language you discover in creativity. There was something there, and so the awareness of that is how far I got, just to the point where I didn't step into the potholes. But my God, I haven't even begun to learn how to speak the language.
Yeah. The world of, I certainly came into the project with a lot of preconceived notions of what blindness is and how these, how people who are blind and low vision navigate through the world. And that's stuff that I learned from TV and watching, and I didn't know how much I didn't know. And Joe Strechay was an incredible resource for us in answering all of, the stupid questions and kind of holding our hand throughout the process and helping us kind of learn the skills that blind people use to navigate the world. And like Alfre said, we just like dipped our toes in, and we're by no means experts like we are the little embryos. It's like it's such a beautiful and big world, and I'm very grateful to just be part of it.
What we do know, and what all of our viewers will know, that people who are blind can kick ass, they can battle, they can make love, they can make babies,
they can build houses,
new worlds.
Yeah.
It's like so. It's like duh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a super intriguing world to step into. I am not blind, and I can see, and there was a cautiousness that I had, where we didn't want to end up looking like frauds. And you also don't want to portray the cliche or the generalization, because that is not what it is. That's not how we have seen people that are blind on set, the actors that we worked with. Everybody has their own way in, and so we try to find our own way in.
Yeah, like no one expected us, to go, okay, you're gonna play a blind person and you'll do that. No, it was like, no, we are going to play the what if game, the imagination, but we're gonna have a consultant who comes in and says, well, this is what I do. This is when I'm here and I hear your voice, I'll look at, I'll hear your voice and I'll put my head up 5 inches of where I'm hearing it, and that's usually gonna be your eyes. And these little not tricks but techniques that the consultant, and Joe Strechay particularly, has developed for himself, he shared to us. And everyone has their own way of coping and figuring out things, right? So, but his way, he shared his way. And in that, I was able to personally sort of just apply the character in the situation to that, and being able to have Joe around and just ask questions about, what do you think this? And him being so inclusive and compassionate towards me and my process, and so there was a real sort of give and take and a sharing of information. But again, it's just the smallest sliver of understanding what it would be to be blind, So really, it's, again, after we get through all that, it's about story, just human need. What is it that I need and what is it you need? It's just we're not using these to connect.
Yes.
We're using these or hands or touch or something like that.
What do you think will surprise people the most about the show?
I think it's just something that we genuinely haven't seen before. A world without vision, where people are like, warriors and I don't know, say. I think it's...
Yeah, even our coaches who are obviously blind and they teach us. Mm-hmm. Imagine a show made about that, the world that they live in, and you get to know that they're, like she said, that they're villains and heroes and battle scenes that are all blind. That's unheard of. So that world's amazing, but then also how much vision is polluted and how much it's false, and what we truly see isn't what's truly there.
And how we judge.
How do you see? Is like you see because you feel and you sense and you feel with your heart. There's another sense that's there, our sixth sense, and I think vision sometimes pollutes all that. For instance, with color, for instance, there's a lot of things it touches on. It's interesting, the show, and I think you learn a lot about, once you take vision away, it puts us all back down in an equal playing field, where the bear and the lion and the tiger are just as above us. So you really have to have your senses be full on, and it's an animalistic quality that everyone gets to wear and put on. So there's a lot of stuff to learn, and I think it's a fun world to disappear in for an hour,
And it is nice. I think it is something that you have, I haven't seen before, where you see all these people of different color, and it doesn't matter. It's not about that at all, because it's not.
You're also gonna be able to sense evil a lot more instead of judging off of your sight.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot you're gonna gauge off someone's energy. You don't have to see it. You can feel it. So I think there's a lot of cool things you can learn from that.
I think, from my understanding so far, I think, it's a very visceral show that's, as I said, based in human emotion, and with that comes, love, family, fights, battle, consequence. And so I think with all of that, I think the scope and the gravitas and just how expansive this show is, and the broad kind of ranges in which this show travels, I think.
Yeah, I think the broadness of the world is probably what is going to be the most surprising to people. I think some people might go into the show maybe seeing Jason's face, and he's in whatever, like faux fur, and he's in the wilderness, and they're gonna be like, I've seen this before. But if you actually watch the show, you see that it's really an entirely made-up world with its own cultures and customs and prayers and everything that's completely different than anything you've seen before. So I think that's going to be the most surprising to people, is that the scope of how big this world is and how it just continues to expand over time.